Welcome back to another episode of OUA In A Snap. I'm Ethan Reddy.
I'm Christine Midgley. We hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I know I'm still full from my dinner on Sunday. But hey, what goes better with a turkey dinner than some football? There were only 4 games played this past weekend, so this is what you missed. The Waterloo Warriors made their way to Kingston to take on the Queens Gales in the first ever night game at Richardson Stadium. Queens took a quick lead in the first quarter with 2 touchdowns, one coming from Alex Zulis, the second from Chris Osikusi. Queens defense proves to be a challenge for Waterloo, their only points in the first half coming from a field goal. The score going into the third, Queens 28, Waterloo 3. Waterloo managed to put up 2 touchdowns in the third, a 5-yard run from Brandon Metz followed up later by a pass to Mitch Kernick for a 23-yard play. The star of this matchup, though, is undoubtedly Queens running back Jake Puskas. In this game, he got not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 touchdowns, all in the second half. He leads the running game in this match with 175 rushing yards out of his team's 197-yard total. This marks Jake's 3rd straight game surpassing 100 rushing yards. With a superb performance from Jake, the Gales score a victory against the Warriors. Final score coming in, Queens 68, Waterloo 17.
The struggling York Lions look to put some might back in their roar as they took on the Laurier Golden Hawks in front of their home crowd at Alumni Field last Thursday. It would appear, though, that the Lions were caught sleeping as the Golden Hawks got out to an early 15-0 lead before the Hunchak brothers of Colton and Brett would connect for a touchdown. But it would be Laurier soaring off from there, though, as they had proved too much to handle as their offense would have big play after big play. In fact, not one of their scoring plays came under 17 yards. A very strong defense with an offense full of big play ability. Reigning Yates Cup MVP Michael Knievel would put up the best numbers of the year as he would complete 21 of 29 passing for 431 yards and 5 touchdowns, doing nothing but separating himself from the rest of the quarterbacks in the OUA as he continues to lead in several categories. Laurier would take this one as they improve to 5-1 with their 53-31 trumping of the Lions. York sits at 1-5 with their lone win coming against Toronto.
McMaster Marauders lined up against the Toronto Varsity Blues. McMaster looking to keep their win streak alive. Toronto working to break their loss streak. McMaster comes out so strong in the first quarter. Jackson White here sending the ball downfield to Dan Peterman. We'll take a look at this 45-yard play. Right for the touchdown, Mac leading 14-0. Toronto puts up a fight in the second quarter with this play. Clay Sequeira looking around. He finds Will Corby in the back corner of the end zone. No follow-up points. Score moves to 21-6 for McMaster. Justice Allen finishes the first half with this play of the game. He dodges through the Varsity Blues, takes it all the way, 64 yards. What a run. And only 1 touchdown is scored in the second half for either team. Again, for McMaster, Justice Allen with a 1-yard finish. The final score comes out, McMaster 43, Toronto 6.
Heading to London, Ontario, where the undefeated Western Mustangs hosted the Carleton Ravens on Friday night. The Mustangs would get out to the early lead with a Cedric Joseph touchdown and this 46-yard Harry McMaster touchdown reception in the first quarter of play at TD Waterhouse Stadium. In the second quarter, the Mustangs would keep their foot on the gas as Cedric Joseph would score his 2nd touchdown of the night on this misdirection play, catching the Ravens defense by surprise as Joseph would prance his way into the end zone for the score. And, well, he's checking to make sure he's going to get to Thanksgiving dinner on time. Chris Merchant would finish the day completing 20 of 34 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. His second coming after this athletic play by both him and Harry McMaster, escaping the pressure and throwing on the run to find McMaster cradling onto the sideline for the completion, eventually leading to a 10-yard touchdown reception by Alex Taylor, who would finish the day with both a reception touchdown, as you'll see right here, and a rushing touchdown to go along with his 192 total yards on the day. Carleton would eventually get on the board thanks to quarterback Michael Aruda connecting with Kyle Van Winsberg. You'll see that in a moment. For the short completion but sweet touchdown. Now, perhaps my candidate for Special Teams Player of the Year, Mark Leggio, everyone. Just barely squeaking this 46-yard attempt through. He'll go 5 for 5 on the day and tallying 21 total points for the Mustangs. Now, there'd be few glimpses of greatness by the Ravens, but one would be this impressive diving catch by Tyler Callahan, his only catch for the day for 26 yards, setting up yet another touchdown, another diving catch rather, as you'll see just in a moment. That would be for a touchdown to Phil Iloki, and that would cap the Ravens scoring at 14. The Western Mustangs remain undefeated as they continued their stampede through the OUA. They improved to 7-0 following the 51-14 victory.
Well, we're now in the home stretch of the regular season. Most teams have 2 games left until playoffs at this point. Western and Waterloo only having 1, as both teams do have a bye coming up in the next couple weeks. The top 5 standings looking virtually identical to what we saw last week. Western remains untouched on top, undefeated, and frankly looking unstoppable at this point. Laurier and Mac still tied for second place, each now sitting at 5-1. McMaster is on a roll right now, rocking a 4-game win streak. Now, Ottawa manages to break away from its last week tie with Waterloo. The GGs now sit at 4-2, while the Warriors fall to 5th place at 4-3. Now, don't go anywhere. We will be coming back after the break with a punting lesson from Toronto's TJ Morton. Our on-location team went down to Varsity Stadium to catch up with U of T's punter, TJ Morton. And Josh learned, or tried to learn, some proper technique.
I'm Josh Giles, and we're here with TJ Morton, who is a 2016 U Sports All-Canadian punter and a 2-time All-Star. That's a pretty impressive resume.
Yep,
right?
thank you.
So what's your experience in Toronto been like?
I love it so far. I mean, everything about the school, the city. I mean, it's a lot different from the States. That's one thing, but I love the game up here way better than the States. It's such a faster game, utilize the specialist way more. It's just been an overall great experience. I'm glad I came up here.
What's the States been like for you?
It's home, you know, but like I said, the game up here is way better for a position like mine.
All right, so you're gonna teach me how to punt right now?
Yep. So it's basically like the one key point with punting is you want to make sure you flex your foot when you make contact. You want to make sure you keep your eye on the ball. And we can just do like a short one real quick. We'll work with you. So you go first. Let's see.
All right, I'll try.
Yeah, you got to make sure you don't throw it out there. That's a bad habit we all get into.
Okay.
Is we'll just throw the ball out there, like pretty much literally. We'll just throw it out there and the ball will turn. You got to make sure you basically put the ball on your foot. So you want it to be like this. Like just literally put it on your foot.
All right, I'll try that. Nope. Well, thank you, TJ, for your time.
Thank you.
You did really well. Not so much, but you know what? That just shows how hard it is to be a punter around here.
It just takes a lot of practice.
All right. Well, thank you, Barry. Thank you again.
No problem.
And for OUA Sports, I'm Josh Giles.
In this week's edition of OUA by the Numbers, the Queens Gales put up some impressive offensive numbers against the Warriors, with big thanks going to Jake Puskis and his 233 all-purpose yards. Puskis' night included setting career highs in rushing yards with 175, 58 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. The Western Mustangs must be thanking Mark Leggio, who is now connected on 18 consecutive field goals, a streak that started in their Week 4 contest against the Windsor Lancers and is highlighted by a long of 46 yards. The McMaster defense has shone brightly all season, and thanks to another stingy performance against the Varsity Blues in the first quarter, the Marauders were able to extend their streak of consecutive quarters without allowing a touchdown once more to a final total of 13, one that spanned their previous 3 games. In another display of offensive prowess, Laurier quarterback Michael Neville threw for 5 touchdowns in the Golden Hawks' 53-31 win, highlighted by a pair of home run plays to Curly Gittens Jr. of 75 and 80 yards to give the reigning Yates Cup MVP and OUA leading 15 for the season. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we'll be joined by Dave Frizzle, the OUA's Director of Sponsorship, discussing Quest for the Cup. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to OUA In A Snap. We are joined here with Dave Frizzell. He is the Director of Sponsorship at the OUA. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, we're talking about the Quest for the Cup. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, for us, we've established the Quest for the Cup campus tour in 2015. Pioneer Energy is the presenting sponsor of that, and basically what we do is we highlight the bigger events on the calendar and go campus to campus. We basically pack up a caravan and go for the fan engagement piece during our events and show off the championship trophies and try and educate the people on what we're all about and who the OUA is, and really connecting the OUA with each campus.
That's amazing. So have you gone to all the campuses so far, or where have we hit so far?
That is a topic of discussion. You know, we have 20 schools. Obviously, a lot of what we do in the fall revolves around football. There's only 11 football schools. So our goal and overall objective is to get to all 20. You know, the northern schools, you know, certainly are interested in having us, and we want to be there.
Just a bit of a trek. That's
It's just a bit of a trek, yeah. It's more of a scheduling thing, but we do get around. Like we were at the Panda game this past weekend. We went to Guelph homecoming for football as well, and we'll be continuing on. We're going to Laurier on Friday for soccer, but during the fall months it is primarily football, but we are trying to get out to other sports as well.
Awesome.
So typically, like, when abouts do you start Quest for the Cup, and when does it roughly wrap up?
Yeah, we do kind of it in 2 segments. There is the fall session, primarily, like I said, for football, but now what we are going to do is target basketball home opener for Windsor, as well as to try and get soccer as well as getting some hockey dates and basketball dates in the new year, so the winter session as well. So for us, we sit down in the office and we put together the overall calendar. We talk to the schools, obviously, on a regular basis, as well as around our AGM each year, to try and figure out, okay, which one are the higher profile games that they have on their schedule, and then basically try and put the schedule together to try and get out to as many events as we can. So we're looking at being at about 8 events during the fall, and then we'll probably do another 7 or 8 in the new year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how many people do you usually send out to these games?
For us, for a staff, usually, ideally, we like to have 3 of us there. 2 for the interactive game portion and 1 to be free, just to really engage with the fans, as well as talk about the trophies themselves, why we're there, connecting them with the OUA, talk about the history of it. Usually we have some sort of prizing going on, a ballot draw presented by Pioneer as well, because we are going to give away a trip for 2 to the Yates Cup this year from the football stop. So we will continue that through other sports and other championships as well, but it's really just educating the people, and we like to have that 3rd person there that's free to do that.
And what can fans expect when they go to an event like this? What can they expect? Like, what is the OUA putting on in terms of what's included or what's involved in these events?
The big event really is put on by our host schools. Like, they do a tremendous job putting on big events. They do an amazing job. They have the staff for it. We are really there just to complement what they're doing. We bring an interactive game. It's just an extra piece to what they're doing. So honestly, we don't say have an event and build it around the Quest for the Cup campus tour. Yeah. Let's add the Quest for the Cup campus tour to your event. And by doing so, it's just another piece of what's going on there, because the schools, like I said, do a very good job of interacting with their own fans, with their own spectators, students, as well as youth in the community. So to bring Pioneer on campus and working with them, like this past weekend, they connected us with Jack Links as a partner with them. So we try and incorporate companies that are working with Pioneer as well to bring them onto campus and connect them with the student demographic, and we certainly saw that in Ottawa.
Awesome. So you talked about giving away a trip to the Yates Cup. Do you need students or whoever to be at the games in order to sign up for that, or is there a way to do it online? Or
right now it's just simply a ballot draw. Just stop by the booth. There is no cost. That was the number one question when people were coming by in Ottawa, was how much does this cost? And there was nothing. You know, you just step up, you throw a football at a target, and we gave you a free sample courtesy of Jack Links and Pioneer. And then there was the ballot draw there that we're going to do the draw during the semifinal, right after the semifinal games, where we know where we're going. And no, you just stop by an event that we're at and fill out a ballot. And
do you have to hit the target?
No, and that was a question too. And then they're like, how many tries do we get? And we're like, you know what, as long as you're a good sport and you actually tried it, you got a little something for participating. So, we loved it. We had a great time in Ottawa. We were pleasantly surprised with the camaraderie between Ottawa and Carleton and the students. They had a lot of fun with it. One of the best signs that I saw was a student holding it up saying, "I just want both teams to have fun today." So I thought that was very clever. But overall, it was a great event. It was great weather, and the TV broadcast looked tremendous. So.
Awesome.
And you had, talking about the Panda game, the game had 24,000 fans come out. Yeah. When you're putting on an event like this, and the event itself, the game itself, is drawing that type of crowd, how much does it make it just that much more worth it for you guys to be there?
Well, that's exactly it, because we know that it's going to be a big event. There's going to be a lot of people there. Plus, having it at a facility like TD Stadium, like we know that there's going to be the concourse space and there's an opportunity to complement what they're doing. So, and it's a great opportunity for us because we have so many people in one facility at one time to bring the Yates Cup, to show them the championship trophy, and really just having that conversation with people like this is the 110th year of the championship. They're kind of taken aback by it. It's like, yeah, it's been around for a while. It's one of the oldest trophies in North America.
It's a little beat up,
right? So, no, it actually looks pretty good. We have a partnership with Unicall, and they come in and we were having a conversation with them today. Just clean it up a little bit.
It doesn't look like it is as old as it is.
Yeah,
it really
it's true.
Doesn't.
It doesn't show its age, but it is a little weathered for sure.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the other sports under the OUA, putting on these events, you're drawing 24,000 fans for the Panda game, and could only imagine what attendance is like at other football games for the OUA. Talking about the other sports, though, how have you seen the fan base kind of be drawn into the other sports?
Well, the schools have done a really good job building up the rivalries. Obviously, you see it with Ottawa and Carleton, but some of the other schools as well. Obviously, Laurier and Western had it this past weekend for their homecoming. Like, if we weren't going to Ottawa, we probably would have been at that one. For us, we really do highlight those bigger games. Obviously, the schools do a great job with homecoming. So the schools that do have homecoming, they do a very good job bringing back alumni. The students get engaged. We went to Brock for Steel Blade Classic, which, when you look at it, it's an exhibition hockey game, but they do a tremendous job, and they sell out the Meridian Center. They get 5,000 people in there, and they're having a great time. So we brought the Quest for the Cup campus tour there as well. For us, this Friday is going to be soccer. It's a school day soccer game for them, so they're going to bring in a lot of school children, which is great for the education component, to let them know about who the OUA is, the schools that are playing, as well as building up, obviously, the future. We hope that they're the future of the OUA, right? Because we want, hopefully, students to stay at home and go to school here in Ontario, but at least educate them on who we are and what we're all about. So for us, the events are growing. The schools are doing a much better job of really honing in on those big dates to make sure that they're really knocking them out of the park. And we reach out and say to them, we're willing to help with that and engage the athletes and the spectators as well. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Now, stay tuned. After the break, we will be coming back with all of the games. Looking forward next week. You never know, you may just see the Quest for the Cup if you make it out to one of those. Stay tuned. Now, this week's games return to the regular schedule. The games are going to take place on Saturday, October 14th at 1 p.m. Let's take a look at the lineup. First up, we've got Laurier heading down to Guelph. Laurier boasting a very strong offensive-defensive combo. As a team, I think overall they are the stronger ones. However, Guelph boasting very strong individuals.
Absolutely. You look at Guelph's lineup, they've got James Roberts, who actually ranks 5th in the OUA in passing yards. You've got Jacob Scarfone, who is one of the top receivers in the OUA. And you also have Johnny Augustine, who actually ties for first place in rushing touchdowns in the OUA.
Well, and he was actually named the offensive player of the week after this past game.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether Laurier, being the overall well-rounded team, takes this one, or whether it's Guelph who kind of will rely on those 3 key guys there to muster up a win.
No, it could really go either way. Next up, we've got York heading down to Queens. York, their standings right now, they are 1-5, Queens 2-4. Now, it's going to be a tough game for both of them, I think. They haven't really been putting up the numbers that they'd like to. However, Queens does have the killer duo, Nate Hobbs, currently second in the OUA for passing, and also Chris Osikusi.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how this one goes because you've got Queens coming off a 2-game win streak, and you've got York coming off a 2-game losing streak. So it'll be interesting to see whether Queens sticks to the winning ways or whether York is going to take this one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very tight game.
Also coming up, you also have Windsor taking on the McMaster Marauders. It'll be the final home game for MAC. Ceremony for graduating players will be held before the game. And for Windsor, in the other hand, you've also got Windsor, who is actually having a very struggling season thus far.
They still have no wins on the board, and that's got to be tough coming down from that program.
Yeah, and I know they've got a really good program there down in Windsor, so I certainly hope the players can muster up a win for their coaching staff down there.
Well, it's been interesting. We keep talking about McMaster having this young, rebuilding team, but they've been coming out stronger every single game, and despite having that youth, they have the second place spot in the OUA.
Yeah, and it's surprising. And it's not only surprising to us, it's surprising to even their coaching staff. We had Kyle Quinlan join us a few weeks ago, and he was even saying that this season was at least intended or thought that it would be a little bit of a rebuilding season.
Yeah.
But you look at the standings and you don't see that. You look at their lineup, however, and you see a lot of youth, so you can understand why they thought that they would be a little bit of a rebuilding phase for them. But you look at Jackson White at quarterback, freshman, and he's putting video game-like numbers up. So it's really surprising to see that much success with so much youth in their lineup.
Well, especially when you're comparing them to some of the other teams where their star players are their third, fourth, sometimes even fifth-year guys. And I don't know. I think in the next couple of years, if they're putting up these kind of numbers with a rookie team, I can only imagine what they're going to do in the future. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. And also capping, we've got Waterloo taking on Ottawa. Ottawa is coming off a loss. They had a bye this past weekend. Came off a loss to Carleton in the Panda game as well. And Waterloo, who actually started off the season actually winning, they were undefeated at one point, and they seem to have kind of dipped off since then.
Yeah, no, they're right neck and neck with Ottawa. They're currently fighting for that fourth place spot. So anyone's game at this point. Ottawa doesn't have a strong running game when you're comparing it to Waterloo. Ottawa averaging 118 yards per game, whereas Waterloo goes for roughly 204 yards a game. So I think that's going to be where there's going to be a weakness.
Yeah, and it'll also be interesting to see whether the dynamic duo, it seems, of Lucas McConnell and Trey Ford can get back to their winning ways for the Warriors. And also in the contrary, you also look at Ottawa, who started the season with Victor Twinstra as their starting quarterback. And since then, unfortunately for him, he's gone down to injury. And Alex Laverick, another freshman quarterback, has stepped in and has been miraculous, it seems.
Yeah, go for the rookies.
Freshmen all the way.
Absolutely. Our last one, we do have a Toronto heading down to Carleton. Both teams are coming off of very tough losses this week. Toronto currently on its fourth loss in a row. We were kind of hoping they were going to be the underdog in last week's game. It didn't really happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at Carleton's loss last weekend to Western. I mean, it's not saying that we didn't expect that to happen.
But everyone rooted for them. I think everyone would like to see Western taken down a peg. They're just too good right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. I mean, you've got Toronto and Carleton. Actually, Nathan Carter actually leads the OUA in total or average rushing yards per game. So it'll be interesting to see whether Toronto changes the way that they play defense and try to eye in on him. And with that being said, also whether Carleton knows that and then decides to just lob it over.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those games turn out. As always, get out to a game. If you can't get out to the game, make sure to tune in. Games will be streaming live on OUA TV. For OUA in a Snap, I'm Ethan Reddy.
I'm Christine Midgley. We will see you guys next week.